Well, a very, very happy Friday morning. Welcome to San Diego Sports Talk, the John Kentera Show. We air Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. and get you all the information you need to know about San Diego sports. And of course, this time of year, we spend a lot of time talking about our San Diego Padres. Padres going to open up a six-game road trip, first of three tonight in Houston against the Astros. The Astros are not exactly the ball club they've been in the last decade, but still a very formidable opponent for the Padres on the road. Padres so far this year been scuffling a little bit, but they're at 500 mark at 3-3. Of course, they have the best record in baseball right now at 15-4, an amazing 12-1 at Petco Park. And we're going to break down the game, the rubber game on Wednesday when they took down the Chicago Cubs. We're going to get you an update on the minor leagues, an update on Jackson Merrill. We got a lot to get to today on the program. I want to wish everyone a very happy Easter weekend. I hope everybody stays safe out there and has a great celebration with family and friends on Sunday. And just remember why we're celebrating Easter. But we got a great show leading into the weekend, and we'll get to all the other stats and stories from our San Diego Padres. But right now, it's a real honor, as always, to welcome this gentleman to the show. Legendary broadcaster in San Diego, covering the San Diego Padres for 30-plus years on the air, both radio and TV. The legendary Mr. Bob Chandler joins us on the John Kentera Show, San Diego Sports Talk. And yeah, you got that big smile on your face because the Padres are sitting at 15-4 right now.
That's a great time to talk to you, John, when the Padres are 15-4.
Oh, Bob, it's been an amazing, amazing story. This team has come out of the blocks, and I think we need to start off. I don't really think Mike Shildt has gotten the credit to this point. It's been all about the players, and he wants to make it all about the players. But I think we got to give this man his due. He did a great job last year, taking over for Bob Melvin after a disappointing 2023. They had a good run last year, and they're off to the best start in baseball this year.
I agree. And, in St. Louis, where he was inexplicably let go after leading his team to the playoffs a couple of years in a row and winning over 90 games, and now he's got a 93-win season under his belt in San Diego, and it looks like he might even have a better team this year.
But let me ask you this. I mean, in all the years that you've been around baseball, around clubhouses, traveling with the Padres for so many years and over 30 years on the air, you saw a lot of managers, and you saw a lot of weird things, guys getting fired like Alvin Dark getting fired in spring training. From your standpoint, if you were the general manager of an owner of a ball club, what are you looking for in a major league manager?
There's no one way that you're successful. I mean, there are different types of managers. I mean, Dick Williams was very successful with the Padres, and he was tough. I mean, the players, for the most part, and most players didn't like him at all, but he didn't care. He never cared. You either did it Dick Williams' way, or he had a spot for you on the bench, and that worked for him. But that style can only last so long, in a city, and then the ownership or the fans get tired of you, and things change. You got to move on, and that's sort of what happened to Dick. It wasn't just in San Diego; it was other places. But he won in Oakland, he won in Boston. His style. It worked wherever he went, but not necessarily for the long run.
I don't think Dick Williams, Billy Martin, some of the managers of yesterday, I don't think they could manage today.
It's a different style, no question about it. Now, Bruce Bochy was eventually very successful in San Diego, and then he was super successful in San Francisco, and after retiring, he came back and managed in Texas and won the World Series his first year there. Last year, he had a lot of injuries. Things didn't go so well, and we'll just have to see how things go this year. But Texas right now is on top in the American League West.
You and I talked the other day on the telephone, and you and I both kind of, in our own way, giggle about the talent of Fernando Tatis Jr. I mean, This guy's got as much talent as really as any player I think I've almost ever seen on a baseball field. And I mean, I'm talking about Willie Mays type talent. When this guy is playing in a completely 100%, he is really special.
The first time I saw him, it was about 5 or 6 years ago, and I had never seen him play. And I'm over in spring training watching him. And you remember Robbie Alomar, now in the Hall of Fame, was a great second baseman for the Padres. Uh, so he was one of my favorite players. I just loved the way he played. So I watched Tatis, and I thought, Tatis has more range than Robbie Alomar did. You know what? Tatis has a better arm than Alomar did. Uh, you know what? He runs faster. He's actually a better base stealer, and Alomar was good. And it looks to me like he's got a lot more power, and he's a good hitter. My gosh, he's better than Robbie Alomar in the 5 major areas, right? Can you run? Can you throw? Can you field? Can you hit? Can you hit with power? And then he was playing shortstop. And actually, John, maybe we agree or disagree, but I think if they had left him at shortstop, he would have been a terrific player there. But he wasn't consistent enough in the beginning. I mean, he would make sensational plays, but he didn't make all the routine plays, at least often enough. But he was young then. I mean, he's still young. But center field or the outfield seems to fit him perfectly. I mean, he was voted the best defensive player in the whole league just 2 years ago when he won the Platinum Glove for his play in right field. And he hasn't backed off from that at all.
It's kind of interesting. After they made the decision to move him out to the outfield, you recall the year before he won the Platinum Glove, he went out there, but he really wasn't all that excited. You could tell in his body language he wanted to play shortstop. Yeah, but he had an attitude adjustment after that year. And to his credit, he came back, won the Gold Glove, but he won the Platinum Glove. And,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like when guys get sent down, the old 72-hour theory. You can go down, be pissed, you can moan, groan, complain. But once you arrive back, AAA or AA, wherever you've got sent down, you got to go play and you got to produce. And I give Fernando a lot of credit. I mean, he was taken out of a prime position. He was one of the stars of the team, one of the stars of the National League. And all of a sudden, I think that one year when they started sticking him in the outfield, he felt like it was a demotion. But then the following year, he came back and hit the ground running with the right attitude.
Yeah, they when they moved him to the outfield, that it was said it was because of his health. I mean, they thought he would be healthier in the outfield than playing shortstop, and he had those issues with his shoulder, and then later on with the leg. But I mean, he understood. At least he went along with it. But then you adjust depending on who your players are, and you had this young shortstop, Asa Kim, who turned out to be an excellent defensive shortstop. And so the Padres were a stronger team with Kim at short and Tatis in the outfield, and it worked out well for the team. But I think in fact, I know that Fernando was asked just last year, does he ever think about playing shortstop again? And he said, every minute of every day.
A guy like him, somebody said, well, what do you tell a guy like Fernando? Well, the first thing you tell him is what time the game starts tomorrow and ask him if he needs a ride to the ballpark.
And you just write his name in the lineup. And I mean, he's working out really well in that leadoff spot. I really believe Fernando is that kind of guy that you could put him in any one of the first 5 spots in your lineup, and you couldn't go wrong.
And I don't disagree with that, but I've always liked him. And I think if you look at his numbers historically, he has always performed, at least average wise, better in the leadoff spot. To me, sometimes when he's hitting down in the order, he never hits real, down in the order. He may hit second, may hit third, occasionally maybe even hit fourth. But to me, it seems like he just brings a different energy when he's leading off in the top or the bottom of the first inning. He just seems to be more of a catalyst that way.
One interesting aspect of that I've noticed this year, and maybe it's just It's just this year, but I don't think so. Is how often he comes up in the ninth inning and he's the tying run or the go-ahead run or whatever. And who else would you rather have up in that spot?
It's kind of interesting. Remember when Willie Mays was kind of late in his career with the Giants and they let him off because they wanted to try to sneak that extra at bat every once in a while? And maybe that's the theory behind Mike Schilt.
Well, Barry Bonds batted leadoff for most of his career, whether he was in Pittsburgh or with the Giants. And I guess when you can do so many different things and do them all well, especially the power and the speed, if you're bat number one, there's no question you're going to get more at bats than anybody else.
I want to ask you about Luis Arraez. He's not off to a great start. He's still hitting 275, but this guy's won 3 consecutive batting titles with 3 different teams and in 2 different leagues. And I was sitting watching the game the other night, and I said to my wife, I go, you know what? This guy's probably not going to be back next year. And the reason I say that, he's playing a power premium position. And I think what he's done, his salary is probably going to be too much for the Padres to want to pay a first baseman that doesn't hit with a lot of power. How would you look at that if you were in the front office?
Yeah, well, you're not. Yeah, he's not a power guy. There's no question about that. But he's boy, does he get a lot of hits. I will say this: the other day, Craig Counsell, he had a choice of pitching to a Tatis or Arraez in the 9th inning with the tie, or the extra inning, the 10th inning, with the tying run at third base, and he elected to pitch to Arraez. But to me, and intentionally walked Tatis. It's either the frying pan or the fire when it comes to just trying to get that runner in from third. And I'm sure that if you're looking for power or multiple runs, Tatis obviously is your better guy. And he's not a bad choice just to get him in from third either. But Tatis might get even more hits. All you needed was a single there to tie it up, and he maybe was even more of a chance he could do that. So I'm not sure whether it was the right move for Counsell or not, but it did. It worked out as Arraez fly out to end the game.
Do you going back to that, Bob? Do you think how does baseball look at light hitting first baseman? I mean, light hitting from the power standpoint. That when you look at your team, you're always looking at the corner guys, whether they're in the infield or the outfield, guys that can launch the baseball. Arraez is a different breed. I mean, he's a different guy. He's worked hard to become a better first baseman, and he obviously jives with the guys on this team. And I mean, I'd hate to see him go bye-bye.
Yeah, I hope they could keep him. But it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, if Arraez has the numbers that he has now, and he's playing second base, when you say, wow, got a great offensive second baseman, you could almost say the same thing about Jake Cronenworth, who played a lot of first base last year. And Jake is not your prototype first baseman with 20 to 30 home runs, 100 RBIs, but he's still a productive hitter. And now that he's at second base, if you took his numbers from last year, 17 homers, 83 runs batted in, that's very good for a second baseman.
Let's talk about the starting staff, and I want to start with the guy that pitched on Wednesday. They signed him, kind of late in the winter. Everybody was wondering what are the Padres going to do, and they find a guy like Nick Pivetta. He's off to a 3-1 start right now, going deep into ball games. ERA of under 1.6 right now. What are you seeing out of Pivetta?
Well, how could you not be impressed by Pivetta? I actually remember him last year. The Padres, you may remember this series, went to Boston to play the Red Sox at Fenway Park and absolutely dominated the first 2 games of the series and thought they had a good chance for a sweep. But Pivetta pitched that next game for Boston, and he pitched a heck of a game. And the Red Sox salvaged the final game of that series. So that was the only time I'd seen Pivetta or knew much about him. Had no idea that he would eventually get a nice lucrative contract and end up at the Padres. But boy, he's been great. He had one bad start, the one in Chicago, and you can't use weather as an excuse, but sometimes weather can be a reason. And it was pretty cold in Chicago, and you get used to the nice weather in San Diego. You have to play in all kinds of weather if you're a professional baseball player, and so I understand that. It's the same for both teams in the game. But that was his only bad start, and he had trouble with his control in that game. He hasn't had it in any other spot.
I used to always tell my players in high school and college, you got to play the environment. You got to go out there, and the other team's got to deal with it. And every ballpark you go to, they have 3 bases, a home plate that's 17 inches wide, and a pitching mound that's 60 feet 6 inches. Let's go out and figure out how to win a ball game today. But let's talk about the guy that's starting this weekend in Houston, Kyle Hart. He's only had one road start. It was a complete disaster at Wrigley Field. 2/3 of an inning, gave up 5 earned runs. He's had 2 starts at Petco Park and been really pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, the Padres, a good record always starts with the pitching. And so with the 5 guys they're using as starters right now, they've all had good starts, and all of them have had starts less than great. But right now, if you were just going to rank, you didn't know the names of the players, and you were just going to rank them in the order of how they pitched in 5 games, probably Dylan Cease would be your 5th guy. But I think we all agree Dylan with his stuff is going to be one of your top 2 before it's over.
Yeah, I agree with you. The guy that I really like, and he doesn't have great stuff, but is Randy Vasquez. I saw him pitch against the Padres 3 years ago when he came here to Petco Park, and they took him out in the 5th inning. And, he's not a number 1 or number 2 or even number 3 starter. I think he learned a lot last year in his 20 starts. People don't realize he had only pitched in 11 big league games before last year. And he had 20 starts last year, a 4.87 ERA. And I think at times he tries to do a little too much and he falls behind in the count and walks too many guys. But he has made, I think, great strides since last year.
Yeah, there's no question he walks too many, and I'm sure he'd like to adjust that. But one thing that stands out with him, maybe even more than the other 4 in the starting rotation, is that when he throws strikes, he's hard to hit. They don't hit his strikes very well, and he walks so many guys that he doesn't get to pitch deep into games. But that could change once he gets more confidence that he can throw a strike and get you out and doesn't have to hit a corner every time. I think he'll make another stride.
And the bullpen, I mean, up and down, there's not one guy that has pitched poorly out of that Padre bullpen.
No, and it's kind of encouraging that some of the guys we saw in spring training that are injured right now or are rehabbing could replace guys they have now when injury happened. Injuries always happen. That big 6'8" or 9-inch guy, Reynolds, throws around 100 miles an hour. Boy, he's a terrific guy to be able to bring in a month from now or whatever. And they had a kid named Badgley something, and he throws close to 100 miles an hour. He was one of the most impressive relievers I saw there. And it's nice to have him that that he's available and sometime this season. And then even Brian Hoeing, who was great in middle relief, another guy you could bring. You can't have enough pitching, right? You just can't. It's proven again and again, and usually you think about the starters that way, but it also applies to the bullpen, maybe even more so, John, because of the way the game is played now, where, when Blake Snell was here, he won the Cy Young Award. He rarely went over 5 innings as a starter.
Bob, you take a look at the National League West right now. It's really unbelievable. I mean, the Padres are off to a 15-4 start. They got the Dodgers on their tail. They got the Giants on their tail. And all of a sudden, the Arizona Diamondbacks, after a slow start, they've won 5 in a row.
Yeah, but they're a pretty good team. I'm impressed with Arizona. I think they'll be right there at the end. The Giants are off to a great start. They seem to have a big boost. Their offense has just been terrific. And, of course, the Dodgers, what can you say? I mean, they're the heavy favorite to win everything this year, as they pretty much are every year. But if you have a 15-4 record, you would expect to have a 5 or 6 game lead in the division. But they're only the Padres are maybe a game and a half ahead of the nearest team. So it should be fun, but there isn't much doubt about the strongest division in baseball. It's got to be the National League West. Only two teams in the American League have as good a record as Arizona, the fourth team in the National League West.
You know, we got to talk about the fans a little bit here because I mean, you a little bit older than me, but I remember well. I was at the very first game on April 8th, 1969, with my brother and his wife, and you know, there were a lot of nights, not necessarily opening night, and even opening night that night at San Diego Stadium, they had a little over 23,000, I think, for that
Yeah.
the first game ever. Was, but there's probably 123,000 that say they were at that game. But I was at the game, and you obviously were at the game. But my question to you, it's really amazing how the fans are coming out. I mean, it's not cheap to go to the ball game. It's not cheap to park. It's not cheap to buy food there. Yet on a Monday night, and I know it was Aloha shirt night, but nonetheless, over 47,000 people coming to a Major League Baseball game in San Diego. And for you and me, guys that have been diehards, when we've been there when there have been 3,500 in the stands, some nights against some of those bad Atlanta Brave teams back in the 70s. This really warms my heart.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, in the early going, where the Padres played a game in San Francisco at Candlestick Park, and there were 987 fans there at Candlestick Park for the Giants. And now, you know, the Giants, especially when Boch got there and Barry Bonds was there, and they became a really good team. Now they had a terrific sellout in a row, Mark. I forget what it was, but they draw well. And the Padres, I mean, what they're doing now is like is something you only dreamt about in the early 70s when the Padres were playing. I mean, we had one year where we drew only 540,000 for the whole year, and the first 5 seasons of the Padres, their best was 644,000. And then a guy named Ray Kroc bought the team. And with a club that lost 102 games in 1974, they drew over 1 million for the first time. And drawing a million fans, 1 million fans, was sort of the benchmark that you were a good Major League Baseball city. And when the Padres did that, it was a heck of an accomplishment. Now, 1 million, that wouldn't be enough to to support the club.
It's pretty amazing. The loyalty of the fans in San Diego is off the chart, I think.
They've created a situation now. First, they've got a great product on the field. And to me, you and I were purists. I mean, it would be worth the price of admission just to watch Fernando Tatis Jr. play, whatever position he was playing. But they've got not only him, but now you've got Jackson Merrill, you got Manny Machado. He's still a weapon with his defense at third, a terrific hitter. He's headed for the Hall of Fame. So the product on the field is good, and the ballpark is terrific. It's premier. It's one. If it's not the best, it's certainly one of the top 3 or 4 in all of Major League Baseball. And the concessions are outstanding. They've created a party atmosphere there that is fun to go to the ballpark. It's not cheap to go to a Major League Baseball game anymore. I mean, it's expensive. And yet 47,000 on a Monday night, and it certainly wasn't all the T-shirt, all the Aloha shirts.
Bob, I got to ask you about being a play-by-play announcer. And I think people that watch this podcast, they remember all the years that you and Jerry, and then, you know, Ted joined the booth, calling baseball games. And, you know, I know when you watch game, you watch a lot of baseball still. You just don't watch the Padres. You'll watch, you know, whatever games on TV, and you know, you're like me. We never get enough of baseball. We want to know what's going on. When you look at announcers today, do they call the games completely different than the way you and Jerry went about business? And you know, what do you think are some of the absolutes for a play-by-play announcer calling Major League Baseball?
Well, yeah, you have to call the action. I mean, actually, calling the action is the most fun, but the really great announcers are able to keep it entertaining and interesting, even when the action is not taking place. Now, there's when the pitcher throws the ball, it's a strike or a ball or it's hit. And then there's time. You've got to make the time in between the action as entertaining as you can. And there are different ways to do that. And there's not just one way. I mean, different announcers work in different cities. Harry Carey was terrific in Chicago. I'm not sure how terrific he would be in Los Angeles, say that or Philadelphia or whatever. I mean, I've listened to a lot of announcers who I think are just great. I think the San Francisco Giants have 4 guys, and they're all really good. And they do television and radio, and they're so good that they end up doing a bunch of national games, so they're not on all the time. But I think I enjoy their style. And San Francisco is a terrific baseball city. They really know baseball. A couple of times they had announcers, and I won't mention their names, who didn't know baseball that well, and they didn't last very long in San Francisco. And I have a feeling the same would happen here in San Diego.
Well, let me ask you this. When you were growing up as a kid, did you know you wanted to be a play-by-play announcer? And if you did, who were some of the voices that you enjoyed listening to growing up?
Well, I was going to be a great baseball player, John, but I wasn't good enough. And so that's so baseball announcing became next. But when I was in
Bob froze up. There you go.
But go ahead. He was stationed at the Naval War College in Newport, Rhode Island. So Newport didn't have a baseball team, but from that spot, I could hear Mel Allen doing the Yankee games from New York. And I could hear Vince Scully doing the Dodger games from Brooklyn, he and Jerry Doggett. I could hear Kurt Gowdy doing the Red Sox games from Boston. And the New York Giants, they had a famous announcer. He came with them to San Francisco. I forget his name now, but he
Russ Hodges.
Russ Hodges. Yeah. So I could hear those 4 guys all the time. And of course, this was early in Scully's career. This was in the mid-50s. And I thought he was the best then. Little did I know that I'd be able to hear him out of Los Angeles just 4 years later when the Dodgers moved to the West Coast. But Scully is sort of Dick Enberg used to call him the poet laureate of our business. And I think that's a good description.
Hey, before I let you get out of here, I want you to tell us how you got the job in the broadcast booth with the Padres, because the original broadcast team, and correct me if I'm wrong, was Jerry Gross, Frank Sims, and yes, Duke Snider. And they were the original team in 1969. And I believe Jerry came in 1972, if I'm not mistaken. But give me the timeline of that and how you got into the booth for so many years.
Yeah, well, you're right. It was Jerry Gross, Frank Sims, and Duke Snider. And Gross and Sims would each do 4 innings of play-by-play. And Duke Snider would do the 5th inning. And Duke was also color. He did color for both announcers. And then he also helped out with the hitting on the field, the hitting instructor. I think it was Wally Moon was their first hitting instructor, but Duke would help down there too. So there were not everybody got along. Let's put it that way in the Padre broadcast booth the first few years. So in 1972, Jerry Coleman was brought in to be the number 1 guy. And I was hired to be the number 2 guy. So that's when Jerry and I began, 1972. And there were just 2 of us. We did both radio and television, but there wasn't much television those days, just a few games. But I at the time, was sports director at Channel 39, a UHF station. You don't consider that you don't even know what UHF is now, a lot of people. But originally you had channels 2 through 13 where everybody could get. And then 14 through 83 were ultra high frequency channels, and you had to have a special antenna in order to receive those channels. Well, in San Diego, Channel 39, the new owners thought that they could get people to learn how to watch UHF if they put a lot of sports on. So they hired me. I was the Channel 10 number 2 to Al Coupe, went to Channel 39 as the sports director, and had a chance to broadcast all these sporting events live. John, it was great, great learning experience. I mean, I did San Diego Chargers preseason games and had a show with Sid Gilman. Well, the San Diego Rockets, the original NBA team in San Diego, we carried their games, carried the San Diego Gulls with Ron Oakes as the announcer. They were very popular in San Diego.
Yeah, they
and
were.
Then I did the play-by-play of San Diego State football, basketball, baseball, track and field, and rugby. And
Wow.
so, an opportunity to do all that. So that's where I had a chance to make all my mistakes. And then, but the deal with the Padres, we actually did several games of the Pacific Coast League Padres their last year of existence in 1968. Then the Major League Padres came in 69. And I mentioned they didn't do much TV, but in 70 and 71, I did their games on television on Channel 39. And we only did 18 games each year, the 9 from LA and the 9 from San Francisco. And it didn't matter whether they were day or night. Those were the only games you could afford to do because of the cost of the telephone lines and so forth. This was long before cable and satellites and everything. So it was from doing those games. And Duke Snider was my color guy in 1970 and 71 doing the TV games. I'll never forget one of the first games we did. It was the Padres and the Giants at Candlestick, and Juan Marichal started the game for the Giants. And that's when Marichal was one of the best pitchers in baseball. Giants scored 8 runs in the first inning. And I'm sitting there thinking, it's 8-0 Giants, and Marichal is on the mound. Well, to make a long story short, the game lasted 5.5 hours. It went 15 innings, and the Padres ended up winning the game 17-16 on a 3-run homer by Steve Huntz. And but I also remember is that my buddy Duke Snider left in the 9th inning to go down on the field to do a post-game interview and never returned. He kept waiting. It looked like the game was going to end.
Duke Snider was a great guy. It's funny, and I'll let you go on this. I was back in 2001 when Dave Winfield went into the Hall of Fame. They sent me back, and I did talk shows from the Hall of Fame, and I saw a folder on Bob Chandler. I saw a folder on Jerry Coleman. You'd be surprised, Bob. They got all kinds of stuff about you broadcasting in their historical room. I don't know if you knew that or not, but they keep information on all play-by-play voices of Major League Baseball. But anyways, so I'm sitting there like on a Thursday night, and because of the time difference, I was broadcasting 3 to 7 out here, so it was 6 to 10 back there, and they were having a cocktail party, and Duke Snider's there, and he comes over, he goes, "Hey, Coach," because he had been on my show before. He goes, "I was listening to your show the other day, and there was something you said, and I disagreed with." And I go, "Well, why didn't you call me?" He goes, "Well, I wasn't close to a phone. I mean, back in 2001, we didn't have cell phones." And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he goes, I couldn't. I wasn't close to a phone. And I go, "Hey, Duke," I go, "thanks for listening." And he was a great guy, Duke Snider. I really liked him.
Yeah, well, he was, as I mentioned, he was one of the original Padre announcers, but after a couple of years, he wanted to do something else. And so he managed the Padres AA team in Alexandria, Louisiana. And but after a year doing that in the Deep South, he decided maybe broadcasting wasn't so bad. He ended up getting back with the Montreal Expos, and he was with the Expos for a long time, doing color and some play-by-play.
Wasn't he the manager when Randy got called up? Wasn't he managing Randy in the minor leagues?
Yeah, well, he was. Well, Randy came up from AA from Alexandria, Louisiana. Yeah. And that was the AA team of the Padres. For a while, the Padres didn't have a AAA team in the early going. So Alexandria was like their top team. They had their best prospects there, Mike Ivey and Freddie Kendall and others. We played an exhibition game in Alexandria, and it was sometime in the early 70s. And so Duke, his office was in a trailer, and you just can't, unless you've ever lived in the deep South with the humidity and the heat and so forth. You just can't imagine how uncomfortable it was. But the Double-A team didn't stay in Alexandria for more than a couple of years, and now it's in San Antonio.
Well, hey, Bob, thank you as always. We'll look forward to doing this again, not too far down the road, but happy Easter to you and the family. And thanks again. And let's hope our Padres can keep it rolling.
Okay. It's always fun talking baseball with you, John.
Absolutely. Bob Chandler, one of the really good men you'll ever meet in any walk of life, let alone the sports industry. Wealth of knowledge. And I hope you enjoyed that interview and wanted to go down memory lane a little bit too. I mean, he's seen it all. I mean, he's seen it all as a Padre fan, Padre broadcaster, and he doesn't miss a game, I can tell you that. Okay, I want to get back and I want to recap a little bit Wednesday's ball game. Heck of a ball game by the Padres, taking the rubber game. Hey, the Chicago Cubs are good. I mean, they're a good ball club. Arizona going to start a 3-game series later today at the friendly confines against the Cubbies. And that'll be a good series. But Padres win the rubber game on Wednesday, 4-2, 12-1 at Petco Park. I mean, that's unbelievable. And I'll be honest, the fans, the Padres have played great, but the fans have been fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Nick Pivetta, another outstanding outing, improves to 3-1, drops his ERA down to 1.57. 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, a walk, 6 strikeouts. Really strong performance. Bullpen, Wandy Peralta gave up that homer to Pete Crow Armstrong late, but then came back and struck out Tucker in a crucial situation in the 8th inning, and then Robert Suarez goes in 1-2-3 ninth, 8th save. Still hasn't given up a run. I mean, Robert Suarez has been awesome. Jeremiah Estrada pitched the 7th inning the other day, struck out 2. Matthew Boyd, the guy they beat's a good pitcher. I mean, he lasted 5 1/3, gave up 6 hits, 2 runs, both earned, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts. Fernando, RBI single, walked with the bases loaded. Manny had an RBI single, an RBI double. The big boys flexed their muscles in that ball game. And really, aside from Fernando going 1 for 4 and a walk and the 2 RBIs, Arise was 1 for 5, Manny was 2 for 4. Other than that, Jose Iglesias, a 1 for 3 day, and Tyler Wade. He does it kind of ugly sometimes, but nonetheless, 2 for 2 and 2 walks and 2 runs scored. What was interesting in this game, when I went back and was writing down my notes, 3 of the 4 runs scored by the Padres in this game were by the 8th and 9th hitter. Elias Diaz was 0 for 3, but walked, came around to score a run, and Tyler Wade scored 2 runs. So good stuff on that. The other run was scored by Jason Hayward, who came in for Oscar Gonzalez. So really a nice effort getting out on the road. Padres were 4 for 11 with runners in scoring position in that ball game. Okay, today is the day that Jackson Merrill could come off the IL, and he's nowhere close. Nowhere close. Wednesday, they did some, I don't even want to say light running. They did some light stepping. You may have seen it on X. Him and Brandon Lockridge, who also is battling a hamstring. They did some drills just to kind of get their legs moving, but no extension whatsoever. So Jackson Merrill, not sure where he's at. Him and Lockridge, in fact, not even on the road trip. Now, I don't know if they'll be ready to, Lockridge probably isn't eligible yet, but Jackson could come off today. He'd come off any day, but not on the road trip. And I don't think he's going to join the ball club in Detroit. I think best case scenario is he's going to be out at least 6 more games, and then we'll see where he's at when the Padres come back home. So Jackson Merrill, no update from the standpoint of him being back in the lineup. He's back here in San Diego. He'll be watching the game on television like you and I. Okay, I want to get to a little trade a couple of days ago, just a minor trade, but at the end of the day, who knows? It may pay dividends at some point in time. You got to have depth in the organization. Padres, they made a trade with the Pirates. They sent Brett Sullivan, the veteran catchers in AAA. They sent him to the Buccos, and they get back Bryce Johnson, who we saw last year with the Padres. I think it was last year. Outfielder, he can play center. He's played like 36 games, I think, center field, made appearances in the big leagues, plays right. Not going to give you a whole lot offensively. He's kind of like Brandon Lockridge. Kind of a journeyman, fourth, fifth outfield type guy that can run late in the ball game, come in and play defense. And I would imagine he's going to go to AAA. He'll be an insurance policy there. So Brett Sullivan, good guy. Maybe he gets an opportunity to get to the big leagues with the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're not very good this year. Okay, I want to get to the minor league report. The minor league report's interesting. And, of course, on Monday, I'll give you an update on our man Ethan Salas and Leo DeVries. I'll tell you this, Leo, after taking a ball Wednesday night in the head, and he was scratched from the lineup Wednesday, and I hit a home run last night for Fort Wayne. But we'll give you the Ethan Salas and Leo DeVries update on Monday. That's what we're doing during the season. But I wanted to give you a little bit of a minor league update today. Albuquerque, the AAA affiliation of the Colorado Rockies, man, they're the Rockies. How bad are they? Oh my goodness gracious, they're just awful. They fired their hitting coach Hensley Mullins yesterday and brought in our friend Clint Hurdle to work with Buddy Black the remainder of the year as a hitting coach. But Albuquerque beat El Paso last night, 11-8. El Paso off to a 7-11 start, but Luis Camposano, I'm going to keep my eye on Campy. Campy has gone down with the right attitude. He's just tearing the cover off the ball in AAA right now. Last night he was 3 for 4 with a walk, but 2 of his hits were home runs. So far, Camposano in 54 at-bats in AAA, hitting .407, 5 homers, 12 RBIs, and a 1304 OPS right now. So we'll see how this all plays out with Elias Diaz, Martin Maldonado, but at some point in time, if Camposano continues to hit, and I don't expect him to hit 400, but if he's doing the things the Padres are looking for, they may have to make a move and get him to the big leagues. Now, a few other guys that had good ball games last night. Terso Ornelas, 295 and 61 at-bats last night, 4 for 5 and a double. Shortstop Mason McCoy, who we've seen up here, 3 for 4, a 2-run homer, 3 RBIs in all. And Stephen Kolek, man, he had a rough outing last night. He started the game, didn't get a decision, but his ERA climbed to 7.11. And I know altitude, all this and that, but the bottom line, you got to get somebody out. He pitched 5 innings last night, gave up 9 hits, 7 runs, all earned, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, and gave up 3 home runs. 4 games so far, he's pitched 19 innings. 7.11 ERA and a 1-0 record. So that's your minor league update. Okay, we're going to get to pitching matchups. And I think tonight's going to be interesting. You got a 5:10 first pitch tonight down there in Houston. Houston going with the right-hander Ryan Gusto, 1-1 and a 3 ERA. So far, he's pitched in 5 games and 1 start. He's been a bullpen guy. He's only pitched 12 innings in 5 games. So you got to figure this is going to be a bullpen game tonight for the Astros. So maybe a good opportunity for the Padres not only to exhaust the bullpen of Houston in the first game of the 3-game series, but maybe, do some damage. Not all those 5 guys that are going to probably pitch tonight are going to bring their A game. Padres are playing good. They're playing great, and they're playing with the eye of the tiger right now. Now, on the other hand, for the Padres, they're going to go with 32-year-old left-hander Kyle Hart. Kyle Hart's been great at Petco Park, but he's not been good on the road. But he's only had 1 start. He lasted 2/3 of an inning against the Cubs at Wrigley Field and gave up 5 runs. His record now 2-0. He went into the last game with an ERA of over 11 because he pitched so well in the last game, threw nothing but zeros up on the board. He's got a 5.40 ERA. But I got to see this guy pitch good on the road, and he'll get a good opportunity tonight against Houston. The remainder of the series, you got Saturday night, you got Michael King, 3-0 and a 2.42, and really now starting to turn it on. First few starts weren't great, but now he's really humming. He'll go against right-hander Hayden Wesneski, 1-1 and a 4 ERA. He'll be making Wesneski his 4th start. And then Sunday night baseball on Easter Sunday. 4:10 first pitch. Right-hander Dylan Cease, 1-1 and a 6.64, going against the veteran left-hander and a guy that I enjoy watching pitch. Framber Valdez, not off to a good start, only 1-2 in a 4.91 ERA right now. So there you have it. And we're going to get to the standings here before too long, but let's get to some coaches' mailbag and some questions from you fans. And again, thanks to Bob Chandler for joining us on the program today. Let's get to coaches' mailbag. Maddie, who will be the first minor leaguer called this season for the Padres? I think minor leaguer. Well, we already called up Oscar Gonzalez. Tyler Wade's gotten called up. The next one really kind of comes down to injuries. A lot of times it's going to be a pitcher because of a guy like Alec Jacob went out there and pitched like 2 to 3 innings. They may ship him out because he's got options left. They'll bring somebody else up, and then they'll get Alec back up here. When you've got options, sometimes that doesn't play in your favor. The other guy they called up, Connor Joe. I mean, they've already called guys up from the minor leagues. Okay, let's keep it rolling here. We got, I'm sure, a lot of questions today. User, what team in the National League West surprised you the most? I think the Giants. I mean, the Giants right now sitting at 13-6. The other thing about the Giants, if you take a look at them a little bit deeper, and they split with the Phillies. They had a 4-game series against the Phillies. They split 2-2. The Giants right now are 9-4 on the road. I mean, they're off to a great start on the road. And, so-so start at home. But they're a good ball club. They've surprised me. Arizona got off to a little bit of a slow start, but now they're picking it up. They're 12-7. And like I mentioned, they're about 1-5 straight right now. But the answer would be the Giants to this point. Thank you very much, user, for that question. I appreciate that. Douglas Nunez. I wonder how long Hayward and Gurriel will last in the team. Well, I think Hayward is probably going to last longer than Gurriel. Now, here's my take on Gurriel. He's hitting like 135 right now, I think. Somewhere in the neighborhood. Not even hitting 150. And I say, he going back to Houston. And this is where he was part of World Championship Ball Club. And this is where he won a batting title a few years back. Last 3 years, he hadn't done squat, really. He had a hard time staying in the big leagues. I think you give him an opportunity to maybe play, on Sunday. Well, maybe you have to go against Framber Valdez, but you got to go against somebody if you're on the roster. I think you give him an opportunity to DH in one of the games. Let him get the fanfare from the fans. I'm sure they'll give him a standing ovation, thank him for his contributions to the ball club. He had some big years there. But he's not getting it done. And I really don't see a path to where you need to keep him. And I'm all for veteran guys, but they're veteran guys that have to play. And he just doesn't have it anymore. I do, he'll run into one occasionally, but not enough to validate keeping him on a major league roster. So I think you keep him through the Houston series. Maybe you keep him through the Detroit series. And then once he gets back to San Diego, if he hasn't done anything significant, then you got to DFA him. I mean, you got Connor Joe who can run better, can swing the bat better at this point in time of his career. Not that Connor Joe's a Hall of Famer. He's a 240 guy. But I'm not sure that Yuli Gurriel can hit 240 anymore. And he's one-dimensional. He can play first. He could DH. Okay, and he was a good fielder once upon a time, but Connor Joe can help you in a variety of different ways. I think he becomes obsolete. So you give him his opportunity in Houston. Maybe you DFA him right after the Houston series, or you let him at least finish out, what will probably be his last opportunity in the big leagues in Detroit, and then DFA him when you get home. As far as Jason Hayward, he's on the team for a while. He's doing enough, hitting 190 right now, but he's doing enough. At this point in time, especially with Jackson Merrill being out. And I would imagine he's probably going to play center field tonight. Maybe he won't play center. Maybe they'll go a different direction. But I think he'll probably play center field against a right-handed pitcher. So that's my take on that. Luis, good morning, Coach. Thank you for having Bob Chandler. Always one of my favorites to hear from. anybody that doesn't like hearing from Bob Chandler, you may need to talk to somebody where you're laying down on a couch. Bob Chandler's a wealth of knowledge. I love Bob Chandler, one of my favorite guys. I used to love when he was just coming to the ballpark as a fan. He'd come and sit with me. I always loved it. I mean, I always had the best of both. I had guys like Randy Jones, Bob Scanlon, Bob Chandler, and when he was alive, Dave Garcia, the great baseball man who managed the Indians and the Angels, was in baseball for over 70 years. Greg Garcia's grandfather. I used to sit with him. I used to go over to Dave's house to pick his brain on baseball in Rancho Bernardo. Great man. Got a lot of love for Dave Garcia. Okay, let's get to the standings here, and then we'll get to a couple more questions if we have them. Here we are on this Friday before Easter. Padres 15-4, 12-1 at home. Fantastic. Dodgers 14-6, 1.5 games back of the Padres right now. San Francisco 13-6, 2 games back of the Padres. Arizona 12-7. They got a day game today. In Chicago, they're 3 games back. In Colorado, 3-15. 3-15, 11.5 games back. Man, long year. Padres, of course, this weekend, 3 at Houston. Dodgers, 3 at Texas. San Francisco, 3 in Anaheim against the Angels. Arizona, 3 at Wrigley Field. And Colorado home to take on Mackenzie Gore today and the Washington Nationals for 3. Not sure they're going to get that game in. They got a pretty good snowstorm going this morning in Denver. But that's what you got for this weekend. If we got any more questions, let's get those questions up. I love questions. I encourage you to send questions in to me, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, or X. Skate Juice needs some veterans coming off the bench, Coach. Well, you know what, Skate Juice? Everybody used to laugh when I would say that, but you know what? I think AJ was listening. You look at what they did a year ago. Can you believe David Peralta, after what he did for the Padres last year, he doesn't have a job? I can't believe Peralta. Nobody signed Peralta. And Donovan Solano's up in Seattle. I mean, you got to have those guys. Think about the contributions those guys made last year. So, yeah, you got to have those veterans coming off the bench. No doubt about that. It's so hard to be a big league young player and to be a pinch hitter when you're only getting at bats here and there. If you're not an established player and a veteran type guy, hard to be a pinch hitter. And by the way, speaking of pinch hitters, I want to send out my best to Manny Mota and prayers to him and his family. Manny, the great Dodger, had a stroke a few days back, but apparently he's making good progress. But Manny Mota, man, one of the great pinch hitters of all time. At one time, he was number 1 pinch hitter of all time. You know who's number 2 now? And has been for a number of years. And the way things go now in baseball, probably be that for many, many years. Mark Sweeney, our former Padre and former Padre broadcaster, now doing a stand-up job and doing a marvelous job. People in St. Louis love Mark Sweeney. Can't believe he's not still here in San Diego. He lives in San Diego. Got a beautiful family. I don't know why he ended up going to St. Louis, but I don't know if that was his doing or not. But Skate Juice, thank you very much. Okay, that's going to wrap up the program. I want to wish everyone a very, very happy Easter. Let's hope the Padres can at least get a series win in Houston. Hey, right now I want to sweep. You drop one, we'll take the rubber game. But Padres playing great baseball. You got to all be fired up about that. Thanks again to Bob Chandler. Thank you for tuning in. And please pass the word. Please subscribe. Please like. And again, you can follow me on YouTube. You can follow me on Facebook at John Kentera. And you can follow me on X at Coach Kentera 44. Until Monday morning at 9 a.m., have a great weekend. Happy Easter. And talk to you at 9 a.m. Monday morning. Bye-bye.